You just paid 70 grand for a car that won't let you use the heated seats without a monthly subscription. Why does every economic debate online sound nothing like the world you actually live in? Today, I'll explain why textbook definitions of economic systems don't match modern reality like you're 5 years old. By the end, you'll understand whether we're still living under capitalism, communism, or something entirely different that nobody has named yet. Here's the textbook version everyone argues about. Capitalism means private ownership of property, voluntary exchange in free markets, and competition that keeps power spread out. You own stuff, you trade freely, and nobody forces you into deals you don't want. Communism means the state owns everything, centrally plans the economy, and distributes resources from the top down. One system says you own your tools and choose your path. The other says the collective owns everything and decides for you. Clean definitions, sharp contrast, easy debate. Except when you look at your actual daily life, neither one fits anymore. You bought a car, but the manufacturer controls which features work through software updates they can revoke anytime. You purchased movies on Amazon Prime, then Amazon removed them without refunding you because licensing agreements changed. You bought a John Deere tractor, but you're not allowed to repair it yourself because John Deere owns the software. It's like buying a house, but the previous owner keeps a key and decides which rooms you can enter. You made the purchase, you have the receipt, but do you actually own it? Now here's where it gets weird. In theory, capitalism gives you alternatives. They don't like one company, you choose another. But try living without Google, Amazon, or Visa. Try getting a job without internet access. Try buying groceries without visiting one of 3 mega corporations that own every brand in the store. You can't just choose differently when every choice leads to the same 5 companies. You've got the illusion of choice, not actual competition. This matters because the system we're told we have and the system we actually live under are completely different. Classical capitalism assumed you'd own your property outright. Your tools, your land, your products. But when everything becomes a subscription or a license, ownership disappears. You're not buying things anymore. You're renting access from corporations that maintain permanent control. That's not ownership. That's paying full price for partial access. And it's not just physical products. You don't own the software on your phone. You license it. And Apple or Google can brick your device with an update. You don't own your Kindle books. Amazon can delete them from your device, and they've done this. You don't own your photo storage. Stop paying for iCloud and years of memories disappear. You paid money, you clicked buy now. But what you got was conditional access someone else controls. But here's what makes this even stranger. This isn't the government doing it, it's private corporations. So defenders say that's still capitalism. Private companies making decisions in free markets. Except markets aren't free when you have no alternative. Classical capitalism required competition to keep power in check. When a handful of corporations control every necessity and operate the same way, there's no competitive pressure. You can't vote with your wallet when every option is identical. So let's flip to the communism side. The usual critique is that centralized control means no personal freedom, no ownership, no choice. But look around. You don't have meaningful choice when 3 internet providers carved up the country and don't compete. You don't have ownership when every product is licensed instead of sold. You don't have freedom to opt out when modern society requires platforms that track you constantly. The difference is, it's not the government doing it, it's corporations. But if the outcome is the same, does the label really matter? Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. We're arguing about textbook definitions written in the 1800s while living in a reality those definitions don't describe. Capitalism was supposed to mean individuals own property and markets stay competitive. Communism was supposed to mean the state owns everything and individuals have no autonomy. But right now, individuals don't own their tools, their media, their transportation features, or their own data. Corporations own all of it. And there's no competitive market keeping them honest because they've grown so large that switching is impossible. It's not capitalism as described. It's not communism either. It's something else that doesn't fit the old categories. Think about your phone plan. You pay every month, but the carrier can change your terms, throttle your speed, and cut you off. You have no negotiating power. You need phone service to function in modern life. Work, banking, navigation, communication. So you accept whatever terms they offer because not having it isn't an option. Now apply that dynamic to your internet, your car, your software, your media, your food supply. You're technically a customer, but you have no leverage and no exit. Some call this late-stage capitalism, an evolution where corporations naturally grow until they dominate. Others call it corporate feudalism, where companies act like lords and customers are peasants with no rights. A few argue it's creeping communism because individual ownership is disappearing. But slapping a label on it doesn't change your experience. You still don't own your stuff. You still can't opt out. You still have no real alternative. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. Both capitalism and communism, at least in theory, had answers to the question of power. Capitalism said competition would limit corporate control. Communism said the state would act in the collective interest. Neither predicted a world where private corporations would have state-level power and eliminate competition while everyone kept calling it a free market. We're living in a gap between definitions. The old rules don't apply, but we haven't written new ones. Consider how this affects your actual autonomy. When John Deere can remotely disable your tractor if you miss a payment, they control your ability to farm. When Tesla can limit your car's battery range through an over-the-air update, they control your transportation. When Adobe moves to subscription-only software, they control whether you can access your own creative work. These aren't just inconveniences. They're fundamental shifts in who has power over your daily life. The tools you need to work, create, and survive aren't yours anymore, even after you've paid for them. And the data situation makes it worse. Every app you use, every website you visit, every purchase you make generates data. That data has enormous value. It's used to train AI, target ads, predict behavior, and manipulate decisions. But you don't own it, you can't access it in any meaningful way, and you definitely don't get paid for it. Companies extract value from your life, sell it to others, and you're not even considered a stakeholder. The payment infrastructure reveals another layer. Try operating in modern society without Visa, MasterCard, or PayPal. These private companies can freeze your accounts, deny you service, or ban you from their platforms for violating terms you never read. And when they do, you have no recourse, no appeal, no alternative. They're not government entities bound by due process, but they control access to commerce as completely as any state institution ever has. This brings us to a darker question about what these systems are actually optimized for. Capitalism theoretically optimizes for efficiency and innovation through competition. Communism theoretically optimizes for equality through collective planning. But the current system seems optimized for extraction. Extracting maximum recurring revenue from you, maximum data from your behavior, maximum control over your options. Nothing you buy is ever fully yours, because fully owning something means they can only charge you once. The goal isn't to serve you as a customer, it's to convert you into a permanent revenue stream. To recap, capitalism is supposed to mean private ownership and competitive markets, while communism means collective ownership and centralized control. But you don't own what you buy, you can't opt out of corporate systems, and you have no competitive alternatives. Corporations control your access to tools, media, and basic features of products you purchased outright. The system doesn't match the definitions we're fighting over. It's not classical capitalism because there's no real ownership or competition. It's not communism because the state isn't running it. It's something in between that we don't have language for yet. So here's the real question. If corporations control your property, your data, your access to modern life, and you can't opt out or choose differently, what system are you actually living under? And does it matter what we call it if the outcome is the same?